just approved it.
Hi, so sorry. The line is really bad. We got disconnected. All
It's all
right.
right.
So where did we leave off? We were talking about your condition.
How I started with my modeling, with my modeling career, I guess. And I was saying I met up with Bernard, who is the founder of Dawn Management. He told me about this idea, and that was even before Dawn Management actually officially started. And I thought it was a great idea. I believed in Bernard's vision, but I never really thought of myself as a model. So never wanted to. But because I believe in the vision that Bernard shared, and I said, sure, sign me on. And that's how I became a model. Even the idea of saying I'm a model itself sounds a bit weird.
Why would you say it sounds weird? Do you feel like even after joining modeling, do you still feel like there's a gap between who you really are and who you are as a model? Or would you say that you've grown into it as a person?
Well, I think I'm getting used to it now. It's still slightly unfamiliar, mainly because I see myself more as an athlete and inspirational speaker. Of course, it's not mutually exclusive to modeling, but I'm just a simple person who wants to do sports and want to share. So the idea of just being a model that take photos is a bit weird for me, or rather unfamiliar even today, although I'm getting better at it.
Understand. So you mentioned previously that you have a condition called brittle bones. Could you tell us a little bit more about your condition and how it happened and how it changed your life, basically? Just tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, my condition is called osteogenesis imperfecta. If you break down the wording itself, osteo means bones, genesis means formation, imperfecta. So imperfect bone formation. And I have type 1 osteogenesis imperfecta, which is the mildest form. I consider myself very fortunate because I have met friends who have type 3 and onwards, which is much more severe. So even for me, breaking bones, was growing up breaking bones. Yeah.
Genetic, or is it genetic, or is it like
It is
something?
genetic. It is for a lot of the people that I've met, it is a genetic mutation. But a lot of the people I've met, they are the only ones in the family having it, not so much from the parents. For me, it's hereditary. So my father had it, my grandfather had it.
Right.
Yeah. So it's different for all.
As I know, you've been aiming for the Tokyo 2021 Paralympics. So how is that going, with the current MCO? Are you still, working hard for it, or have you taken like a short break, to recollect yourself? How's it?
Well, I took a short break, I guess, because I can't go to the gym exactly. I am doing home training. One of my coaches, and there's this team of people called Constant. They designed my training program, so they have adapted my training program to be more at home. But then there are certain limitations because I cannot go as heavy as I want, for example, like in the gym. So it is a bit the progress slightly slowed down. I took a short break just to clear some of the stress, and then but I'm getting back to it, waiting for some equipment to arrive from Canada, hopefully sometime soon.
So say the CMCO is not happening right now, how would your training have been previously? Like, what would you have done to prepare for this Tokyo 2021 Paralympics?
Well, I have my strength and conditioning program, which is in the gym, and then I have my chair training program, which is doing the practice, the technical part of wheelchair racing itself, and then you have your recovery. But if the MCO wasn't happening, I actually was supposed to be in Ireland last month. Actually, I was doing a fundraising program to go to Ireland for 2 weeks and train with one of the top racers in Ireland right now.
Wow.
So Ilian is his name, and he's a great guy.
So you're doing wheelchair racing, right?
Yeah.
So could you tell us a little bit more about the sport as a whole? Do you think it's known in Malaysia? Do you think a lot of people know about it, or what do you think?
It is a very popular sport internationally. I think it's one of the biggest sports in athletics, especially for the Paralympics. But in Malaysia, there's no one else currently doing it. I know at least I am the only one seriously pursuing it right now.
Wow.
And in Malaysia, and that's why we don't have resources, we don't have athletes pursuing sports, nor do we have any coaches in Malaysia doing racing.
So it has its pros and cons of being the only one, yet also being the only one, right?
Yeah,
So
I guess that is the case. Yeah.
So do you think, the MCO is difficult for you for sure. So do you think it's difficult for other differently able people as well?
Well, I think, yeah, for me, I've been accustomed to it. I resigned from my full-time job 3 years ago just to pursue sports. And from that point on, I started working from home. So I would say I'm coping with it a little bit better. But I can imagine it being harder, especially for anyone who has a disability and going out, especially needing assistance with the restrictions going on. It was a bit tougher. Now with the MCO being a conditional one, I think it'd be easier. But then I can imagine it being harder.
I understand. So what do you think could be done to actually help the differently able community during this MCO time?
I think we just need to be more considerate. I think as a nation, even policymakers who is dealing with a lot of things I know right now with the pandemic going on, there must be enough consideration and dialogue with the community to know what is best. Because I would imagine just a few weeks ago, with the one person per car rule, if a person with a disability wants to go anywhere, they would need to go on Grab or with a stranger rather than with someone who is familiar with how to help them. Yeah.
So it actually makes it difficult because when they want to do their daily activities, there's no one there to actually help them, somebody that actually knows how they're dealing with these things, right?
Yeah, because you can imagine some people's answers that I've even heard of sometimes is that, okay, you have a disability, why not just ask somebody in your house to help you then? But what if it's something a little bit more important, like going to the bank, for example? Then your parent or your guardian or your family member will be familiar with how to transfer you, but then the policy did not consider OKUs in Malaysia in that sense.
So, there's a lot of discussion around which is the right word to use. Is it OKU? Is it disabled? Is it differently able? So what is the term that, you are most comfortable with?
Well, for me personally, I think it is, first off, I think it's very different for everyone. That's one thing we have to acknowledge. For me personally, I don't really mind anything because I think the term disability, a disabled person, differently abled person, is just a label. And I studied psychology. I know what labels are for. Some of those labels are not great. It's not good. But labels are just something that we use to make it easier for us. And sometimes without labels, you can't help a community.
Very true.
Because if you say, oh, everyone is the same, then there are people with certain needs where that it needs to be addressed, but there's no name for it. Yeah. And so I'm good with people with disabilities, OKU, differently able. I think it is important for us. If you're unsure, I think it's good to ask because everyone has their own preference. I've seen friends who, like Killian, who is the Irish racer that I was supposed to train with. Like he says, I'm a cripple, and then people around him like, oh man, how can you say that, right? It's almost like able-bodied people were offended. Yeah, but for him, that works for him. And he doesn't expect you to call anyone else a cripple, but then he addresses himself as one. Yeah.
But do you think that's like, is there any term do you think everyone will be okay with? Like, because sometimes, one term might offend someone, one term might be good to someone, and one term might be bad to someone, one term might be good to someone. So is there any general term that you think works for everyone, or is it just an individual based, thing?
Well, I think it's important to look at the difference between having an official term and a term that is widely accepted. Because an official term for a person with disability is a person with disability, PWD, internationally. That's like the words used in policies and whatnot. In Malaysia, it's OKU. A lot of people think that in the policy it's written orang kelainan upaya, but it's actually orang kurang upaya in policy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in the lawmakers' policy, it is OKU, stands for orang kurang upaya. But I think because there's a difference between a word that is officially term versus a word that is widely accepted, then I think people understood that orang kelainan upaya was more well accepted. And so I would say that a simple term that is used internationally is a person with disability, PWD. In Malaysia, people don't mind OKU, but if you're unsure, like I said, ask. And the person will have their own preference.
So Vincent Chai said, my other friend who fight for these rights also use PWD. So PWD seems to be the most commonly accepted term. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's widely used internationally.
Oh, wow, thank you for the new information from Brenda. Wow, okay, so, you know, I've seen on your Instagram profile, you know, you said you're an inspirational speaker, correct? So sometimes you use the word motivational speaker as well. What is the difference between these two words, like, you know, inspirational and motivational?
I think if we go to the semantics, it's not too big of a difference. I think personally, I connect more with the word inspiration. I feel that sometimes when it comes to motivation, people immediately think of the rah-rah energy, you know, the hype, which, you know, of course, motivation can be more than that. But inspiration for me feels like something that is more internal, and it